If you were there when they signed the Constitution, pages 75 to 79. When did we become the United States? The fiercest battles for approval were fought in Virginia and New York. For a while, it looked as if the Constitution would lose in these states. Then, just before the 4th of July, 1788, the Constitutional Conventions in Virginia and New York voted yea. New Hampshire had approved the Constitution a few days earlier, so now there were more than enough states for the nation to begin. What a 4th of July they celebrated that year. In New York City, 10 white horses pulled a full-size gunship down the streets. They called the ship the Alexander Hamilton. In Philadelphia, a ship renamed the Rising Sun boomed its cannons as 5,000 paraders got ready to march. One of the floats, called the Constitution, was a carriage built in the shape of an eagle. Why is the Constitution called a miracle? George Washington called the Constitution a miracle, and so did James Madison, and many historians have called it a miracle since then. It is a miracle because it was written so quickly. It took less than 4 months, but a bad Constitution could have been written just as fast. It is a miracle because it has lasted so long. Bad governments can last 200 years. In 1787, the United States had 13 states and fewer than 4 million people. Today, we have 50 states and more than 248 million people. During the fight to ratify the Constitution, some people argued that if we were one nation, we would split up into special interests. The farmers would stick together, the merchants, Catholics against Protestants. Madison wrote that joining together to lobby or pressure your government for your special interest is as important to liberty as it is to fire. Without it, liberty would die. Madison thought that it was good if a republic was big. If the country was big enough, no special interest could rule over the others. Madison and most of the other delegates wanted to make up a government that would never allow one group to have too much power over a smaller group. Madison and Hamilton knew the nation could get bigger. The real miracle of the Constitution is that the men who wrote it had so much respect for the need of people to control and change their government. Otherwise, the piece of paper they were writing would never have lasted, except as a piece of paper under glass. Amendments to remember. After the Bill of Rights was added to the Constitution in 1791, 17 more amendments were approved over the years up until today. These amendments have made important changes to our way of life. Today, it is hard for us to believe that long ago. It was legal to own people, slaves. The practice of slavery was forbidden by the 13th Amendment, added to the Constitution in 1865. Long ago, only white men could vote in elections. African American men got the right to vote in 1870, and the 15th Amendment. In 1920, women won the right to vote when the 19th Amendment was added. Long ago, no one had to pay income tax. Because of the 16th Amendment added to the Constitution in 1913, most workers pay income tax every year. Long ago, a person could serve as president as long as the people voted for him or her. The 22nd Amendment, added in 1951, limits the time a person can serve as president to 2 terms, a total of 8 years. Long ago, some voters were made to pay a poll tax. In 1964, Congress passed the 24th Amendment, making this poll tax and other voting taxes illegal. Long ago, no one under the age of 21 could vote. The 26th Amendment, added in July of 1971, set the voting age to 18. It took American women more than 70 years to win the right to vote. In this book, you can read about the struggle for women's rights that led at last to the 19th Amendment. This is the end of today's